I'm going to contrast how society treats men and women, how it enables bad female behavior and tries to punish men even when they are innocent. Now, I'm going to contrast how they treat Germaine Greer here, who has openly admitted to being attracted sexually to underage boys. And I'm going to contrast her with Arthur C. Clarke here, the writer, who was merely had allegations of sleeping with underage boys. Now, the difference is this article I'm showing here proves that he was innocent, and yet there are still YouTubers that want to dig up dirt against him, the dark side of Arthur C. Clarke. In the meantime, even though Greer has admitted openly into being the underage boys, here you see her on a televised panel. She does not suffer any kind of canceling or job opportunities. People still talk great about her and say she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So anyway, we will get into how this hypocrite is actually slandering the average father. Kissing your daughter goodnight is sexualizing children. Right.
Culture that has gone along, and it's always been sexual. The Barbie doll herself is a fetish. She is descended from a sex toy. Little girls learn to flirt with their fathers, kiss daddy goodnight and all this sort of business. And you wonder whether what's happening in marketing is a response to this or whether it's actually causing it. And in fact, by now...
There's always some loser nodding her head to this scumbag. This is a true blue subhuman, everybody. This is a scumbag. Germaine Greer. Here she is. She's been spewing this horse shit forever, and people just take it. Now, a father in the audience calls her out on it, but he goes far too lightly as far as I'm concerned.
I'd just like to take exception to what Germaine Greer said about dressing your children as tarts. I've got 2 young girls, and they're teenagers now. My daughters have never been dressed as tarts. And also the coy kissing of daddy before they go to bed. Surely they give me a kiss because they love me.
That's her giant pushback. Some guy politely disagrees. I'd be throwing this woman out on her ass. Matter of fact, should be behind bars.
That depends whether a child is being taught to flirt with you rather than simply, I'm sorry.
Who's going to teach my children to flirt with me?
You see, that this is how gullible guys are. They admit. The answer is obvious. She's saying you are going to teach your daughter to flirt with her. Men are pedophiles. That's what she's saying. And of course, everyone dances and prances around that. So this is the typical reaction that pisses me off from men. They turn around and say, this is ridiculous. No, it isn't. He should be telling this woman off and saying, why is she even allowed on television? Now, just to go, I found this, luckily, Studio B here was good enough to do this because I couldn't find this in the YouTube right. She wrote the book, Beautiful Boy, where she expounded how beautiful young boys are. And I can't find it on YouTube because YouTube, of course, protects its own. They don't allow that, but Studio B has caught it. Here they are. The human male is beautiful when his cheeks are still smooth, his body hairless, his head full maned, his eyes clear, his manners shy, and his belly flat. Yeah, she's really getting off on those young guys, right? There's the very underage boy picture, nude. She's really into that. Now, just women too have known it and known it still. Girls and grandmothers are both susceptible to short-lived charm of boys. Women who are looking for a father for their children, less so. There. So she's saying, this is the way I am, therefore all women are like this. She's saying old ladies as much as young girls are into young boys. And we're not looking for a man to father their children. Wow. Wow. What a low life. This woman belongs in NAMBLA. Let's see what else we got here. Part of the purpose of this book is to advance women's reclamation of their capacity for and right to visualize pleasure, right? If we but lift our eyes to the beautiful images of young men that stand all about us, there is a world of complex and civilized pleasure to be had. Her pedophilia, she describes as civilized, right? And again, she, being the narcissist that she is, can't see beyond herself. She assumes every other woman is into underage boys. Right. Exactly. And there's no shame, and there's been no pushback. This book was written ages ago. And this woman is not behind bars, and she doesn't lose any kind of attention. People still ask her opinion on things and ask her for, be on panels. Now, listen to this bullshit. If there is an element of child abuse in the woman's seduction of the boy, it is that no love he ever experienced afterward could match either the comfort or the intensity of this relationship, in which the boy was never in control, but so quick to regain his erection that it didn't matter. See, erection. So she's admitting with no uncertain terms, this is a sexual relationship that she, a grown woman, enjoys with an underage boy. Right. Exactly. Now, I want to hear this from Studio B, what they have to say, because he says, who is seducing her? Who? Where basically this is what they claim with pedophiles, right? That the pedophile blames the child.
Assumes that in such a scenario, the boy is at least as responsible for the seduction as the woman, an allegation, it hardly needs to be said, that would
There
not.
you go. Typical pedophile. Typical pedophile. And there's a young boy he had undercover, and apparently he didn't give her permission to have his face on the cover, right? But she didn't get sued over it, and the book doesn't get taken down as far as I know.
As little oppressors in waiting.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to hear that.
A feminist woman to have written, one that sees boys as fully human and not as little oppressors in waiting.
Sorry, Studio B, you're giving in to this woman's frame. This woman does not see this boy as a human being. She sees him as a sex object, and that's the only reason she's defending him. She spits on grown men. So this is not her humanizing this boy. This is her sexualizing him. So Studio B, get it right. Be a Manko, get it right.
Be that as it may, Greer's rampant sexualizing of boys, which is overt and unapologetic throughout the book, makes for uneasy reading and remains quite shocking even 20 years after the book's first publication.
Of course, it's still shocking 20 years after, because it's still inappropriate sex with underage people. And it's unapologetic, and this woman has never been punished for it.
Greer is especially interested in representations of boys as, quote, passive love objects, which is the title of her 5th chapter. Boys who are immobilized and passive in sleep are the perfect erotic objects.
Wow. This is the kind of woman who would slip this guy a Mickey.
Open to the woman's desiring contemplation and advances. Greer describes the ideal scene as follows, quote, as he sleeps, amorous eyes may feast upon his beauty. When those eyes belong to a woman, she is for once powerful and dominant.
Wow. So my man Pink and Yellow was absolutely right. It's the women who want dominance and power over men, not the other way around. It's women who are socially dominant.
Free to feed her own desire as slowly and deeply as she wishes, building her own excitement and deliciously delaying any consummation, as mother-like she takes pains not to wake the sleeping beauty.
So she, in that segment, spit on fathers, but she was actually projecting her own desires. She considers sex between her and this young man as mother-like. Right. Okay. So, like I said, comparison is this woman gets invited to televised panels. That's how society treats scumbags like this. Now, we'll get to Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke, not a pedophile. Sri Lanka, exactly. The Sri Lanka authorities, because that's where he lived for years in Sri Lanka, Donald Clarke has been cleared of decade-old pedophilia allegations before his death last week. Exactly. Oh, by the way, this article was found to me almost instantly by Eric Schiedler. Eric, thank you very much for finding this for me so quickly. Because I asked him, do you think he was actually guilty of it? He said, but. Anyway, he found it for me anyway. Obituary writers have resurrected 1998 accusations that he had sex with young boys in his adopted country, but the National Child Protection Authority said there was no case against the writer, who captured the world's imagination with 2001 Space Odyssey. We had no case against Clarke, and no one had come forth to say they were abused by him. Thank you. So there you are. We have not had any formal complaint or testimony from anyone saying they were abused by Sir Arthur. We cannot go on the basis of rumor. Thank you. And I'll include this in the description box so you guys can see it. Thank you again, Eric. Now, like I said, Greer is a known pedophile, and she gets invited to television panels. Arthur Clarke here, he has been proven innocent, and we'll see what this guy, Clade of Learning, or Rob Iger, and I got a couple of timestamps. He shows his true colors. Okay, 218. Let's go right to 218. See if I can't find it. Shoot. 18, where he gives his opinion of whether this guy who's been proven innocent is guilty or not.
Conclusions at the end of the article are more detailed. Actually give a section at the end of the article which is called The Case for Arthur C. Clarke's Guilt, and I also do another follow-up section called The Case for Arthur C. Clarke's Innocence.
Which is not necessary, because as you see, it took, as Eric told me, he said it took you like 5 seconds on the Wikipedia to find out that he's innocent.
So I try and present the two views as best as I can, because I want to be as unbiased in this as I possibly can. What I will say, that based on all of the information that I've looked at, I would say I lean 75% towards Clarke's guilt. I believe he probably was a pederast and possibly a paedophile.
So this guy is not unbiased in any way. He's a very resentful, bitter man who is very male hostile. And for him, this is 2.5 hours long of him trying to paint this picture one way or the other. Well, he's actually trying to paint the picture that he is guilty, but he's leaving himself enough plausible deniability. Doesn't need to be 2.5 hours long, because again, there's the article proving there's no proof to this. All he can do is dig up hearsay. As a matter of fact, there was this great comment by Darren Elkins down here in his own comment section, destroying the bullshit. Thank you, Derek Elkins. I'd like to thank you. I don't know if my comment will get through, right? And so because of this, of what you've done, Iger, I will subscribe to you. I am going to unsubscribe from you now. Unsubscribe. You know, I've put up with his antics before. I have other videos featuring this guy where he talks about pedophilias. And this is the straw that's breaking the camel's back. As much as I liked your content, you are the lowest of the low, Rob. And I will not support someone like you. Okay. So to end this off, there's the contrast between how society treats men who are merely accused of something and how society treats women who are downright guilty of it. Thank you, everyone.